Hey everybody, this is Adam Strum, and we're about to go cruising into a better financial future with your host, Kim Cruz. Hey everybody, this is Adam Strum, and it's time to go cruising into a better financial future with your host, Kim Cruz.
Thanks, Adam. I am Kim Cruz, a wife, a mom, daughter, sister, friend, entrepreneur, and business owner of Cruz Credit Consulting, but not necessarily in that order. I have over 30 years experience in corporate America and a passion for helping people succeed in all areas of their life. And I am joined by my friend Adam Strum, and he's actually the brains behind this production. Adam?
Hey, my name's Adam Strum. I spent 20 years in corporate America before going off on my own, thinking I could help more people with my own company. I now own three of them. I help people with debt issues, credit issues, and I help businesses stay on track so that they don't end up closing in that first important year. My companies are U.S. Financial Alliance, whose call letters you can see right behind me there. I also own Financial Rescuers and On Target Strategies.
And together we review our listeners' financial problems and address them with our experience, tips, tricks, and resources of network referrals to help you cruise into a better financial future.
Now, Kim, you might have noticed there's a face down there below us.
Yep.
We have a third person this week. We have a guest, and this guest is someone really special. Um, Today, we're going to break from our norm about talking about, personal credit and personal debt and personal issues. We're going to talk more about business debt because USFA works a lot with business debt and business expenses and helping businesses stay on track. And our guest today is helping businesses recover from the pandemic, helping businesses expand their reach. And she's doing it in a way that's a little bit different than what most businesses are used to using their advertising dollars for. I'm going to let her tell you more about it. Her name is Holly Sias, and her company is Socialite Media.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for the great introduction. And Kim, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. Thank you for having me. Like Adam said, my name is Holly Sias, and my company is Socialite Media. I like to say we are a boss babe marketing agency. Our focus is on social media marketing, influencer marketing, consulting, and Facebook advertising. We partner with other agencies that do web design, SEO. So we like to say we are full service because anything you need, we can get you in the right path. We can get you started. So Boss Babe is kind of funny. That's our tagline, I guess you would say. Women empowerment, women supporting women are some of the pillars of socialite media, along with supporting small businesses and supporting local, which is extremely important, as we all saw during the pandemic and still is. So I launched Socialite Media mid-pandemic, May of 2020, and it's been a blessing. It's been tough, but it's been so worth it. And I've met so many amazing people like these two over here, and
We try.
been
We
great.
try.
Yes, well, you guys are. And I would say our focus is we started out in restaurants. I'm a foodie at heart, and I love supporting small mom and pop local restaurants. So we started out there. We've moved to the med spa sphere, CBD, and also personal, a couple other things, but personal brands like a comedian, professional boxer, mortgage companies. So we really have expanded to kind of all across industries, and it's so fun to get to learn about all of these different industries and just how to create this personal branding on it, tell their story, and put a creative twist that you're like, wait, how could that happen with the mortgage company or this professional boxer? Let's paint him in a different picture. So it's
Right. It's
really
all about
fun.
the
And
branding, right? It's all about the
exactly,
branding and really letting people know who you're representing, who the person
Yep.
behind the comedian is or behind the
exactly.
boxer. And I love doing that
Hmm.
at On Target Strategies, my consulting firm. And we're going to be working together on a few things in the near future, I'm sure.
Definitely,
And I
Now,
think that
definitely.
this is awesome. And the theme of the week is International Women Empowerment Week. So this is the perfect guest to have on this week. So thank you, Holly,
well,
for
I
being
love
here.
it. I could
I've
talk
had
about women empowerment forever. I'm so passionate about it.
I've had the pleasure of meeting most of the people who started Socialite Media with Holly. I've met most of her upper staff,
Mhm.
upper management staff, and to say boss babes is an understatement. Um, they are
Oh.
incredibly on point. They do not waste time. They get down to business. They have smiles that'll just knock your socks off on top of it. So,
Oh,
whether it's
well, thank
Carolina or
you.
you or any of them, I've gotten to know you all. I love you all very, very much. I really do. I think what you're
Oh,
doing is a fantastic service, and we're going to talk a lot more about it. But before we do that, I want to give people some idea of your credentials before we talk about this week's article of the week. See, what people don't know is Holly started her career in journalism.
right, exactly. Sports broadcast journalism to be exact.
Yep, and
I got my or I went to Mizzou, then I went to DePaul, got my master's degree in it. Very passionate about that. Was working for the Chicago Cubs New Sports Network. Thought it was my dream job. The pandemic hit, but before that, I had actually formed Socialite Media as this is my passion. Before the Chicago Cubs job came along to help small businesses, and then it kind of you have to pivot, or you didn't have to pivot, but during the pandemic, I pivoted and made Socialite Media my focus, and it is
right in the
it
last
is a
year,
blessing.
right in the last year and a half, though, you've gone from the person who depends on the paycheck to the person who makes the paycheck. And so
Right,
you actually
right.
do have a good understanding of the change in finance that occurs when you go
Oh my
from
gosh.
working for a living to being the living.
Yep.
And that's where your
Yes,
expertise on this week's article, actually, as a reporter, you spoke with other reporters. Some of them covered
hmm
this topic all the time. I'm going to let Kim introduce
absolutely.
this week's article and topic.
Yep, this is a really good article because it talks about what people are going through right now. And this was from US News, and it was published on March 3rd. And it's the very best ways to prevent credit card fraud. And it talks about that credit card fraud was the number one reported fraud in 2020 with a loss of $149 million. And it goes through the different steps to take in order to protect your identity and protect your financial information. So, Adam, I'd really like to put this link in our credits because it's so important, because this happens to everybody so often. I know that I've been a victim of credit card fraud probably 5 times, and it's just little things that you need to know to be aware of. And it goes on to say that during a crisis, fraud tends to increase because people are desperate and people are vulnerable, and you can get phone calls and they seem so legitimate, and unfortunately it's backed by fraud. So I just want to touch on a couple of things that they talk about in ways to prevent fraud. One of them is don't use unsecured websites. And people don't realize that on a website, it has to have that little padlock on it before you put any of your credit card information on there. If it doesn't have that little padlock, it's not a secure website. So that's something to be aware of. And it also should have a website that begins with the HTTPS. If it doesn't have that, it's not secure. So you want to be aware of
Correct.
that.
That S stands for secured.
Mm, exactly. So make sure that S is right there. And then make sure you're not posting personal or confidential financial information on social media. We want to make sure that we're not giving information out. And one of the other things that I just want to touch on, and then I'm going to pass it on, is be wary of phone calls that you get. You may have somebody call you, and scammers will usually use the most prevalent banks. So they may identify themselves as being with a bank that chances are you are a member of. And they will tell you, we've noticed fraud on your account. We want to make sure that you are being protected. So can you verify your account number for us? And then you give them all of your information. And by the way, we want to make sure this matches up. And what's your date of birth? And while we're at it, as an extra form of security, can you verify your social security number? So it sounds like a legitimate phone call, but you're the one that's giving them all of the information. Same with emails. Emails can be made to look like they are legitimate. You can copy any bank's logo right off of the website and post it in an email, You can even make your email address look like a bank, and you just have to tweak it just a little bit, and it will look like it's a legitimate email. So that's our tip for the week. And I want to pass it on to Adam. Let's get
Well,
the input.
actually, I'm gonna get Holly's input, and then I'll do the final word on this one because there's a few things in this article I want to talk about. So, Holly, what do you think about credit card fraud?
Oh, I think it happens everywhere. And I think it surprises me sometimes where, I'll catch it on my account because it has happened several times, like it has to Kim, where it's these small little amounts. But one thing I read in the article that was you need to continue to practice credit card safety. And that's one really good reminder. I was in a good habit of checking over my statements monthly, but it's a good, reminder to continue to do that because those little, withdrawal or little fraudulent charges will add up. And I think that there are so many different scamming, ways like the phone calls and the emails. So I think staying educated and on top of that and, making that part of your monthly check over when you're paying your balance, be like, okay, let me take a couple of minutes and make sure everything is legitimate.
I couldn't agree with you more. This ranks right up there with the wonderful Microsoft scam
Mhm.
and the IRS scammers that we get calls from all the time. And I play with these guys when they call me because they deserve to have their time wasted. Now, let's just talk a little bit about how credit card fraud works because something that Holly just said is really important. Most of the time for the first year they have your credit card information, you're going to find those little charges. $10 here, $15.99, $22.50, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they're number one, testing to make sure that your card still works and testing that you're not going to report them before they go and try to make a big purchase.
Mhm.
And that big purchase will get you in a lot more trouble. So, very heavy tip here. The minute you see a fraudulent charge, get in touch with your credit card company, have them issue you a new card with a new last four-digit number. And this way, whoever it is that made that $15 charge, that's all they're getting away with.
Mhm.
Next, the article speaks about ways to avoid this, and the most prevalent and the simplest way to make sure that your credit cards are always protected is process them through a third processor. Apple Pay, PayPal, Square, et cetera, any of these third parties. Because if someone does hack your PayPal or your Apple Pay or your Google Pay or any of those, they never get access to your payment information.
Exactly.
You're
Yep.
filtered twice. It's just like encryption on a website where they encrypt it twice, where it's scrambled once and then a program descrambles it into a different scramble before they unscramble it again.
Mhm.
Okay. The whole point here is that makes it not worth the time of the scammer. It's going to take too long for them to uncrypt or decrypt the encryption of a double encrypted HTTPS website. They're
Mhm.
not going to bother. They're going to move on until they find one that's single encrypted or not encrypted at all, which
Hmm.
there shouldn't be any more of those. The law now requires every site to be encrypted.
Mhm.
Okay, so that all being said, if you find you have any type of fraud on your credit cards, understand that you must report this as fast as you can. Time is of the essence, not just to your credit provider, but to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, so that fraudulent charges don't cause your credit score to take a big drop in case they did make a big charge that you have to now argue for a year in court to get dismissed.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's what I have to say about that. Um, is there anything anyone wants to add? Because
Just,
I have some good
just,
news. I have some good news.
We like good
It
news.
yep.
turns out that in mentioning in some of my other realms, as we call them, where the elves live that edit the videos for us and everything
Yeah.
else, I mentioned who our guest was going to be, and we've got a bunch of questions from people all over the U.S. We picked out 5 of them that pertain specifically to what Holly does now.
Perfect. I'm
Yep.
excited to hear these.
Well,
Yes.
we always let our guest answer the first question first. So you get first crack at the
Okay.
answer for the first question, and Kim is going to read that question right now.
Yep. This actually comes from Wallace
All
in
right.
Louisiana. And Wallace wants to know, why is social media so important in expanding my reach as an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you have to have a good social media presence. Myself as an entrepreneur and everyone else who I've worked with that are entrepreneurs have either know this or have learned it, that in order to really connect with your customer, you have to be on social media. So social media is so personal. You have that personal connection. I like to say that there's three things of what I believe are the biggest reasons entrepreneurs should be on social media. The first one is you're going to increase your brand awareness. Now, this is going to drive people to your website. It's going to increase your sales. People are going to know your brand. If you're in a store, people are going to recognize your brand. And it also really helps with your search engine optimization ratings. Facebook, Instagram, the more your social media is up there, the higher you're going to be along with your business website. The second one I like to say is increased brand authority. So the people trusting you. So say you do have social media, but you rarely post, or your posts and photos are not professional, or the way you present yourself or your company is not professional. That can be very, very hurtful. Now, on the flip side, that brand authority is very, very important and pretty easy to get on social media. You just have to have, a social media campaign in mind, and putting together really professional, polished content. So that is the second thing. And then the third thing, which Adam touched on briefly at the beginning of this, is that it is such a decrease in cost to traditional marketing outlets, just like billboards or television. So influencer marketing is what I specialize in, and it is so much more cost effective. Along with Facebook ads, we do see a lot of cost effective results there compared to regular traditional media. So as an entrepreneur, these are really great routes you want to definitely dive into right when you're starting out.
And this
Excellent.
is exactly why Holly is the expert in this field. Because
Well,
that
go
was
ahead,
a
Kim.
phenomenal
Go ahead.
answer.
Expand on it.
Well, I know that when I first opened up my business, and my business is all virtual because I also opened up in a pandemic, and that was my fastest reach to the largest audience that I can get to as well. Because if I'm going to pick up and make phone calls, that's going to take me forever to reach the 5,000 people that I can reach in a day on social media. So I love the details that you give, but you are spot on, and definitely a decrease in the cost. You can do so much more with a smaller budget on Facebook. Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all of the other platforms.
Snapchat. Keep going. We can go for a half hour.
So,
Snapchat,
Pinterest, TikTok, and all of those. So yeah,
TikTok,
definitely.
all of them.
Yep.
All right. I guess that leaves me, and I'm going to mention something, and Holly's going to smile ear to ear hearing me mention it, and that is reach. Wallace,
Oh, can't wait.
your question is so important, and I am so glad that you asked it. And I'm going to repeat the question before I answer again. Why is social media so important in expanding my reach as an entrepreneur? Just using Facebook alone, okay? I belong to 23 Facebook groups, which means that if I post something and I post it to each of these groups, and it's not something that violates those groups' terms, each group has its own terms, I can reach in one day 7 million people.
Mm-hmm.
I can't reach that with any
Exactly.
radio ad, because most radio shows don't get that much listenership anymore. They get between 2 and 5 million listeners at a high level.
Right.
On TV, it would cost me way more than I'll ever make back to have that same reach. So your reach as an entrepreneur is much, much more effective on the social media platforms. And it's not because you have 10,000 followers. You don't have to have 10,000 followers. You don't have to have 1.3 million Twitter followers.
Right.
But you do have to belong to groups of like-minded or networked individuals that share in what you do, or what your business is, or what your reach, like you said, is. If you're a part of those groups, one effective handwritten post can get you more reach than you could get from any television ad anytime, even during the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yeah,
I
and
knew Holly would agree.
absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to touch on that, how personalization means everything. And that's why influencer marketing is so successful right now. Is like when you're going into that Facebook group, people can put a name to your face and then you have that authority. So as an entrepreneur, you are the expert in your business. And so if there is, a product or you're promoting your business, people are going to be curious and they're going to respect you as that authority. And you're, just like Adam said, that much more able to reach a whole big diverse audience and then actually connect with those people as well.
Yep, and keep making it
Exactly.
smaller till it becomes very personalized service
Yes.
to the one person out of the 10,000 that responds. That leads into our next question, though, and something you had said during this, which had to do with cost. Janine in Wyoming sent this one in, and she wants to know, isn't it very expensive to have influencers promote your product or service?
No, not at all. So I always compare it back to traditional media. So my background is journalism and television, and so you have all of this traditional media that costs thousands of dollars. I like to say it, if you're, we'll go back to the Facebook groups too, because I like that one too. Say you spend a bunch of money on a billboard, right? And if I'm in Chicago right now, and if you're taking a different highway, it's on one highway, but you're taking a different highway, you're never that person who's advertising is never going to reach those people who are taking the same highway every single day. So exactly what Adam said, if you're in these Facebook groups, you don't have to pay anything to post in these groups. Now there are some terms and you have to be kind of careful about what you do post, but that is one way, grassroots marketing, that you can do for free and you're going to reach so many people. Now, second, influencer marketing. Everyone thinks, oh, it's so expensive because you have these celebrities or athletes. And while that could be the case if you're Nike, if you are an entrepreneur with a small business, or you even have a medium-sized business, clothing brand, whatever it might be, CBD company, coconut water company, those are just a couple examples of my clients. But we work a lot with nano influencers. Nano influencers have a bigger engagement rate than mega influencers that have over 1 million followers. So your mega influencers have 1 million plus, your nano influencers have 1,000 to 10,000 followers. Now, most of those followers are going to be from the same community, the same area. They're going to be connected in that first or second degree, most likely. So there's a lot of people that know these individuals and have trust developed in all of these relationships. Nano influencers, here's the exciting part, because we like the word free. And nano influencers will post for free. Now, not all of them, but will post for free in return of a product or service. So for instance, we use nano influencers with a couple clothing brands we work with. We provide them with the clothing pieces and they provide Facebook posts for us, Instagram posts, reviews. We work with our influencers to develop a campaign for our clients. So really when it comes back to it and the cost, it's very inexpensive unless you're one of those big brands, that's going after a celebrity or a mega influencer, and that's going to be more expensive. But there's the middle. People are like, what if I want, more than 10,000 followers? I want this person who's more of a region, bigger region, Miami or Chicago, Las Vegas, LA. So what's really cool about what we do is we're like the middleman between the influencer and the client, to make sure the client is not getting ripped off around. And so that's one of the things that I would recommend if you are looking to get involved with an influencer. Before direct messaging them, definitely do your research, get connected with an agency, or just do your research beforehand, and then know that you don't necessarily always have to pay for an influencer. It could be trade of services as well.
Right. That barter is what makes it so much fun to work with influencers,
Yes.
especially like you said, nano influencers or mid-sized influencers.
Mm-hmm.
Even some of the biggest ones that have 250,000 to 1 million viewers, they'll still work on the barter system depending on your product or service and if it helps them. Which means they can directly
Right. Oh,
relate to
absolutely.
your product or service. I've seen this done by some of the people I follow and subscribe to, like Devin Stone, who's known as Legal Eagle. I love his channel. I watch a lot of his stuff because I work in the legal field. And he'll always talk about what he's wearing and how it was supplied by X. And I'm not going to advertise them on my page, but the fact of the matter is, I guarantee you that that was a barter, that neither one is exchanging money for that. Instead, they clothe him for his videos, and he mentions them in his videos. And he reaches 200 to 300,000 people with every video that he produces. So I see the value there, and there is a huge value. Now, I just want to break this down a little bit, and then I'm going to give it to Kim. In business, to answer your question, we have something really important, and I know Holly looks at this number every day, as does every business owner. ROI.
Absolutely.
Return
Absolutely.
on investment. If you're spending money as a business owner, you want to know, what do I get in return? Always. Everything has an ROI. Sometimes it's really tiny, sometimes it's huge, but everything has an ROI. Now, if you spend $10,000 to be on TV at 3 a.m. for 30 seconds, your return on investment is going to be small.
Right.
But that's the only thing small business owners can really afford as far as TV. You're going to be on a local cable channel, and you're going to be in the middle of the night when viewership is at its lowest, and that's why you're able to afford to put your TV ad on. That's when you see the most attorney, for instance, the most attorney advertisements of attorneys you've never heard of. Right. Late at night while you're watching, and these crazy infomercials with, you know, products that should be on HSN. Same thing happens.
Right.
Using social media and influencer marketing literally costs 1/10 of what that costs you, while getting you 100 times the exposure you would get. So if you're asking, does it cost a lot of money? It might. It probably won't, but it might. But do you get more for that money? Always, 100% of the time. And now I'll pass the ball. Let me just wind up. And
yeah,
I'm a
by the way,
righty.
this way.
Yeah, here we go. Catch. Okay, Kim, you're up.
So you're absolutely right. I loved the analogy of the infomercials at 3 o'clock in the morning, and when they start out with, "Are you so stressed out you can't sleep?" Well, obviously that's to the audience that is up at 3 o'clock in the morning, not sleeping.
But wait, there's more. No.
And yes, it can cost a lot of money, but again, the return on your investment. And Holly, you do a great job of breaking down what an influencer is, because I wasn't as aware of what an influencer is. And I've been involved with quite a few direct sales, MLM, network marketing companies in the past. And in one of them that actually led me to, in my journey to Cruise Credit Consulting, I worked with a lot of athletes that weren't taught the financial literacy. They were making a lot of money at a very young age, but they weren't taught how to manage their money. So they became not only excellent clients that we were able to help them, but also excellent spokespeople that were able to share this information. And that's exactly what an influencer does, and thinks, well, if this NFL player needs this service, maybe I'm not that bad. And because when we're dealing with bad credit, everybody puts it in the back of their head because of the fear and anxiety that it causes. But when you have a major athlete step forward and say, yeah, I had messed up credit too, but take a look at this company because there are solutions. It's huge.
Absolutely.
Well,
and that trust that's developed. Yeah.
And you can make it relatable. So
just think about it. When Derek Jeter or or Brett Favre or either of the Manning brothers tells you to go buy something, tens of thousands of people are going to go buy that something.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yep.
It's the way the world works. It's a little crazy when you step back and look at it from the outside, but we're all in it. You know, we've all been marketed to since literally we started watching TV at age 2 and 3. And now we watch it all on our little devices, and the ads are still there. In fact, there's more of them than there's ever been.
Yep.
All right. So we got another question. It's coming from an old Jewish guy in New Jersey.
Irving in New Jersey.
Irving. All right.
He wants to know if there are limits to who you can reach using social media marketing. So we touched a little bit on this, but your reach is so much bigger. But go ahead, Holly.
Kim, you're exactly right. Adam, you're exactly right about the Facebook groups and that your reach is so big. But like any advertising, there's always going to be a little segment or a big segment depending on which platform of advertising you use, that you're not going to be able to reach. So there's two things I want to touch on this first. I want you, not you guys, but I want the
Take your
business
time.
owner,
Take your time. We're not
business
rushing you, Holly. Give us a good answer.
yes, to think about your target audience, because even if you're reaching all of these 7 million people in the Facebook group, if it doesn't relate to your product or service and bettering your business, it's not going to be effective for you. It's almost, yeah. So it's just, you have to know your target audience. That being said, so say you're posting on TikTok, you need to know it's a little bit of a younger audience. Instagram being the 20s, 30s, and above, pretty popular platform. Facebook being kind of an older platform now. So knowing your target audience and where those people hang out on social media is going to be huge. Now, there is, of course, some people that you won't be able to reach, people that don't have social media. People use social media for random different things. Some people use it as a resource to learn. Some people use it as their spare time to decompress and just catch up to see what their friends are doing. So it's not a fair assumption to say everyone uses the social media the exact same. People use it in different ways, and that could also limit your reach on social media. But the other thing I would suggest too is being on different platforms to be able to increase that reach and use social media as this free advertising for you to the best you can.
Let me also add that you talked about different platforms. There are other very effective places that you can talk about your business, or you can give recommendations to other people's businesses. There's a platform called Alignable, which is small businesses. Most cities have a next door neighbor program that you can post on and tell people about your services.
Every state has meetups.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's not just Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok that we're talking about. We're also talking about other applications and programs that are specific to a neighborhood or social environment or interest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so important to remember too, is, there are the big player social media platforms. But if you're in those specific ones where you're able to really connect with your local community, that's going to be a gold mine for you.
Oh, no doubt about it. In fact, I'm going to amend what I was saying earlier, because this question is slightly different than the one I was answering earlier. Now, like I said, I belong to a lot of Facebook groups, and there are groups on other social media platforms as well. Some of them are more one-to-one oriented, like Snapchat. But the point of social media for a lot of people is to be able to reach a lot of people at once. But the point for others, like Holly was saying, is specifically to stay in contact with your family and friends who may be thousands of miles from where you are now. We're in a more mobile society than we've ever been. I mean, people used to be born, they knew they were going to work in that city for the rest of their lives. And that was that, generation after generation in the same place. That's not the case anymore. With Gen Z, the world has become tiny. That being the case, you have to pick and choose what groups you put what messages on. And those groups I belong to, a lot of them deal with finance. Some of them deal with law. I'm not going to pitch financial services on a law group. It's just not going to fit. Right. And so my reach would be nearly zero, because that would either A, get me in trouble with the moderators of that group because it doesn't fit what we talk about there, or B, if nothing else, get me ignored for a while because I don't seem to know what the group is there to talk about. So you do have to watch what you post and what groups you post it to. Always make sure you're fitting your content with what's the discussion in your group may be. This gives you extra credibility, but it also gives you that extra exposure. Now, Irving, I am an old, born Jewish guy from New York City, and I totally understand where you're coming from, where you don't want to spend money that you don't need to spend. That's one of the reasons you should call Holly and really learn about how this will help your reach and who you won't reach.
Irving,
So
I would
you can target the rest of your spending toward what will reach those people you're not reaching through Holly's means.
Yes, Irving, I'm excited for your call. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'll see what I can do. Hunting these people who email us down has been really tough. Andre Barak is still trying to reach one of the people who asked a question on his show.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we don't get much information, you know, and people tend to ignore emails to their email address if they don't
Yeah.
know the sender. So it's really, really hard. I'm going to start asking people, please send us some contact info when you email in your questions. We'll be glad to have our guest give you a call if you really want to work with them, whoever
Right,
the
right.
guest is.
Yep,
You know,
we
we'd
sure
love to be
can.
able to connect you guys. Kim, I think you've got the next question.
I will get the
And
next
then I'll do the
one.
last
Let's
one.
see. Okay. So Kathy in Washington, D.C., aren't Facebook and Google ads better than influencers?
I am excited for this question because I get this all the time.
My head's
So
gonna explode.
really, I know. So in general, influencer marketing is going to be so much better than Facebook or digital advertising. Now, I would like to also point out that this depends also on the industry. So I want to give you guys two examples. One is going to be one of my med spa clients. The other one's going to be a coconut water company. So we'll start with the coconut water company first. Coconut
Yummy.
water, yeah, it's delicious. Little plug for them. They are doing both Facebook advertising and influencer marketing through us. Influencer marketing is less expensive for them, and they're yielding way better returns for it. Part of that reason is our influencers use a promo code. So when influencers are posting the product, they say, hey, use my code, Holly10 to get 10% off that service or product. So in a product-based company or so
Basically
not
a
service.
retail,
Yes.
a retail company.
Yes, retail. So influencer marketing is definitely the way to go. Now, on the other hand, I have my med spa client. My med spa client is really trying to focus on one service, and one service is it. What we're able to do for her on influencer marketing, she's tried both influencer marketing and Facebook marketing. We did put a mega influencer. She has 1.2 million followers. So she did promote this service. Now, paying her was a trade service worth $3,000. So you can kind of, see what different negotiating you can do with the higher end influencers. But anyway, her because she has such a big reach worldwide, the numbers that came back from her weren't very good, because this is a Gold Coast Chicago med spa, and they're only trying to target Gold Coast Chicago people. So what we are able to do then with Facebook advertising, and we spent $200 a month, and that's the lowest I'll ever do for anyone. And I'll say, like, this is a great base starting point, and every time in the renewal, it's gone up from there up to $300, $400, $500. So what worked out really well with them was we were able to design an ad that was targeted directly to Gold Coast Chicago females between 30 and 65 who were looking to get facials or looking to get laser, whatever the case may have been. You can make it so narrow. And so they ended up, after 1 month of that, got 11 new clients in one location. They have 2 locations, 11 new clients in one location and 8 new clients in the other location. So for that was a huge return on investment. And we were able to make that Facebook ad, we were able to make it so it was leads that we were capturing. So people who are interested would put down their contact information, and then that med spa would contact them directly. So it was just another avenue. I would say for med spas, and it just depends on the service and what exactly you want to advertise. So for them, Facebook advertising was great. For the majority of all my other clients, influencer marketing is going to be the way to go and the best ROI.
Right. And when it comes to a service, just let me clarify and make sure I'm not hearing this wrong. If the service is localized, it might be better to go with digital advertising. But if the service is nationwide, it might still be better to do influencer marketing.
Absolutely. And to touch really quick on that, you can use a combination. So say we do the Facebook advertising for the med spa. Now we use nano influencers who connect in that area and try to service So look, they get a free facial. You're not spending really any money there. You're just spending your money with Facebook advertising, and you're getting both at a pretty good price.
And this is, again, is exactly why Holly is the expert, because you lay
Well,
it out
thank you.
perfectly. And
When it comes to
that's a great.
connecting, you remember Lily Tomlin when she was an operator?
Yes, I do. Holly
That's
probably doesn't
Holly with the
remember that.
social media platforms. Oh, come on.
Well,
Everybody
thank
has seen it
you.
at some point,
Yes.
but even those much younger than I was, when I rode a Stegosaurus to school, Lily Tomlin was big. I have in my hand and in my view the final question for today.
Alrighty.
And this one comes from a guy you don't want to mess with because he's in Texas.
Uh-oh.
We got Jim in Texas, and he wants to know, are there industries that cannot be marketed through social media?
That's a great question. So when it comes to Facebook digital advertising, the answer is yes. And one thing I really want to touch on, because this is new, if you're in real estate, you are limited how you can advertise on Facebook. There's a new law that came out last year, and there's certain things that you can't target anymore, including really location. If you put in Chicago zip code, it'll do 25-mile radius, but you can't get into different neighborhoods. You can't choose between gender, and you can't choose between age range, along with income and a couple other different factors that usually you would be able to. So that's one big thing, is that a lot of real estate agents haven't kind of come across yet, or realized,
Are finding out now.
are finding out
Right.
now. But one cool thing is that there's a lot of other ways, and if you want to know, come hire us, of how you can be a real estate agent, still get out there with a targeted ad. So that's one thing. Now, of course, firearms, it used to not really be monitored back in the early dinosaur ages of Facebook and Instagram. Now it is. You can still post about firearms on Instagram and Facebook, but you're going to be they're going to push you to the very, very bottom of the algorithm. So if you have followers that are only following firearm pages, you'll still show up, but on the explore page, you won't show up. It would be rare. Another thing right now, cannabis is a restricted industry. I do have a couple CBD clients, so yeah. So
I have a lot of restrictions, so I can't
yes,
wait to talk about this.
yes. So I would say those are kind of the restrictions we face a lot. Being in Las Vegas, we do come across some firearms companies that want to hire us. So there's some of these restrictions we see more on a weekly basis that we're talking to prospective clients about.
Yeah. Well, this is enlightening for me. So, Adam, I'm going to let you go next.
No problem. I've got a lot that I can say on this because being co-CEO of USFA, we have a ton of restrictions. But I'm going to broaden it out so that Jim can understand my answer a lot easier. And so can everybody else. The answer is the more ethical the business you're in requires you to be, the more restricted the audience that you're allowed to market to becomes. So real estate agents, they have an ethical code that they have to abide by. Insurance agents have to sign an ethics, and they have to go once a year to re-up their ethics code. Attorneys, you notice you don't see a whole lot of ads on Facebook and Instagram and other places for attorneys other than on their personal pages,
Right.
because they can personally talk about themselves, but they can't specifically advertise themselves.
Exactly.
So that's how you have to look at it, is, are you in a business, not retail, other than maybe guns and CBD? Those are the only two things I can think of off the top of my head that are highly regulated retail items. But if you're in a service business, you really have to check before you start spending your dollars on advertising, or have the company you're working with, like Socialite Media, check for you and make sure that you are properly able to advertise using the outlets you're planning to use, because there are tons of restrictions on services with ethical obligations, is the word I'm looking for, that require that those ads get triple scrutinized or quadruple scrutinized. And they get whittled down to where you may have had this great branding ad and now there's only 4 words left in the 25 words you had put in your ad, because the rest of it violates the codes of ethics of Facebook, YouTube. And we don't even talk about YouTube as a social media presence, but technically it is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, Vimeo, I can go on. Uh, my partner Isa, who's everybody here has met on occasion, didn't even know Daily Motion existed. And I come from an age where Daily Motion and YouTube were the two big places to go watch videos.
Hmm.
So that, all of that is what it is. But I can tell you right now, I'm restricted. I cannot say the words debt and the other word, which is settlement. I had to separate it by a whole sentence or else I get in trouble.
Mhm.
I can't say those 2 words together in certain states without incurring a fine.
Right.
And so Facebook, in order not to be part of that fine, doesn't let me say those 2 words together in the same post. And any hint of that, PayPal has actually banned me because they think that I'm doing that on their platform, and I've never done that on their platform because
Mm.
it's banned from their platform. But because I'm associated with that industry, they won't even let me for the chance that I might do something in the debt settlement world on their platform.
Right.
And I understand that. I didn't even fight with them about it. I said, hey, if that's how you want to handle it, there's 10,000 payment processors out there, just like there's 50 social media platforms that are relevant. There's
Right.
always somewhere else to go. And, I really don't mind the fact that they're doing it because it helps consumers in the long run. It really does.
Hmm.
There's a lot of bad actors in my industry. I'm not one of them. I'm A+ rated. And in fact, USFA has been nominated for the Torch Award from the Better Business Bureau for ethics compliance.
Amazing.
So yeah,
Amazing.
we will find out at the end of
Congratulations.
the year if we've won it or not. But we were telling Kim about that yesterday, that we've been
Mhm.
nominated for the Torch Award for excellence in ethics and keeping to our ethical standards. I want everyone to feel that way. You see, you shouldn't feel shunned just because a rule blocks you out, even though you may not deserve to be blocked out. The rule is designed with the consumer in mind and not having them get ripped off.
Hmm.
And if it's going to prevent someone from getting ripped off, yeah, it's costing me and I have to find a workaround. And but you know what? That's part of being in business. It's always been part of being in business. You find the perfect location for your little candy store, right? This is the old time. Let's go
Yes.
back. Amazon doesn't exist yet, and people buy things in person. Okay. You find the perfect location for your candy store. Why? Because there's a counseling place that deals with kids right up on the second floor of the building. And then you have these adults that, work in school. You have a school on the other side of the street. It's the perfect location for your candy store. And 1 year after you open it, that school loses its funding and shuts down, and the therapist moves across town. Well, all of a sudden, your perfect location is now a barren wasteland. That's how business
Mm.
works. You always have to have your
Right.
contingencies, your plan Bs. We
Mhm.
talked about plan Bs last week with Amber Nolasco. So you always have to have your plan Bs in business, and we all have them. I know we do.
Yes.
So for that reason, instead of looking at it from the point of view, the question kind of begs the answer in this one. You asked, is there a product or service that can't be marketed through using a means like Holly's means, Socialite Media? The answer is no. There's always a way to market it. It's a
Hmm.
matter of finding the expert and having them review it so that your marketing holds up even in the worst of times.
You
That's my 2 cents.
Absolutely.
you're exactly right. And just to elaborate on that a little bit, when you are a company that is regulated or can't market the way other companies or industries do, and you follow those guidelines, you're a more reputable company for being aware of that, and you're more trustworthy. So you want to do business with a company that abides by those guidelines and isn't trying to pull the wool over your eyes or do something in a shady manner. You want to make sure that they're a trustworthy company,
That's
especially
a
for
great
us and
point.
Adam
Well,
in
yeah.
the financial industry. We want to make sure that our clients trust us and that we're following all of the guidelines. For me, I'm a free resource to my clients, and we talk about their unique situation, and then I have a plethora of resources that I can put them in touch with. But I know that on all of my websites, I have compliance that I have to abide by. And my clients or my prospects need to know that this is a financial website and that they will be contacted by somebody to discuss their financial matters. So yes, these things are put in place for a good reason.
It all goes back to Miracle on 34th Street. If we don't have it, send them across the street to Gimbals. Now, a lot of people have no idea what Gimbals is, and a lot of people have no idea what I'm talking about. But this was back in the day. Miracle on 34th Street, a very famous movie. It's been updated. There's been 2 remakes of it. But there was a war going on between the 2 biggest department stores in the country, Macy's, which is still around, and Gimbals, which has gone out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is about a guy who claims he's Santa Claus. I'm not going to get into the details of the movie. But the fact is, at one point, he knows that the store he's working for doesn't have the toy the little boy asks for. But he tells the mother, I know they have it across the street at our competition's store.
Mm.
Well, then the store ends up adopting that policy. If we don't have it, send them to our competitor. In return, the competitor starts sending to them. And you know what? The 2 end up working together, which is what's amazing about it. You know, they hated each other. They were against each other, but there's no reason to be. Competitors are what make your business great. If you have no competition, it's not fun to do your work.
Absolutely.
It's not fun to show why you're better than your competitor is. So, you know, there's no fulfillment. That's the word. There's no fulfillment in a job well done if you're not comparing it to someone whose job is not well done. So, you know, you can look at Burger King and McDonald's. Yeah, they're competitors, but there's really no competition. Whichever one you like better is the one you go to. You know, and the same holds true for ice cream. You have Carvel and you have Baskin and Robbins, and you have Haagen-Dazs and you have Cold Stone. If you want a $200 cone, you go to Cold Stone. You know, that type of thing. But I'm being comedic. I know that it's not $200, but it is $17.99, which is a little crazy.
Right.
The point here is we know there's competition, but we want you to come to us for what it is you're looking for. If you're looking for advertising, you're going to Holly. And if you're looking for help with debt, credit, etc., you're coming to Kim or myself or our network of people that we work for. And this is why Holly's on relating to finance. We're back at where we always are. Everything relates back to finance because everything involves your spending either time or money. And time is money.
Yes.
Yep. And I really appreciate this topic because people don't realize the importance of social media in driving their business. And I work with a lot of startup people as well and entrepreneurs, and they ask me, well, how do I post without being so spammy? I don't want to be too pushy. And how do I make posts? And my first response is, who are you working with for your social media management? Because I think every company needs to have a consultation with a social media manager. But we talked about this a lot throughout this whole segment, is you have to establish yourself as an expert. And it's not just a matter of pushing your information out. Your product, you're not pushing your service or product, you're pushing information out and becoming that expert. When I don't post, sign up with me for credit repair, sign up with me for your personal loans, it's more a matter of, did you know that 78% of credit reports have errors on them? So there's definitely a difference in how you're presenting yourself, and it's in a company's best interest to reach out to the social media companies like yourself and get their expert information and experience on how to navigate through.
I have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a problem with the whole idea of quote unquote spam. I don't think it exists.
You almost spit your drink out when I mentioned the word spam.
Yeah, because I don't think it exists. All right, let me ask you a question. Do you watch television?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay. So if you see 9 advertisements for Tide during a 1-hour program, have you been spammed?
I think that you watch them subliminally now, and it just
Whether it's subliminal or not, though, that's the idea behind what people call spam is harassment by advertising.
Mhm.
And I don't really think that's real. I mean, I know it is because I get 3,000 emails an hour. I get the fact that there's way too much of this, but you can filter that out and you can filter it down to what you want to see and don't want to see. So I have a whole problem with the idea of spam and harassment by advertising. See, to me, if you really want to take spam to its logical conclusion, we need to ban billboards on highways because, I feel spammed when I'm looking at somebody's face in heavy traffic for 19 minutes while waiting to get past that billboard.
Yeah.
And that's just as bad as the 12 emails I'll get from, the warranty people who are going to call me every hour, every day for the rest of my life.
And I get what you're saying, but I think if social media isn't used correctly also, that's going to be the perception
Yeah.
because you
I'm
have
being
your family.
controversial on purpose, just so you know.
Well, you have your family and friends, and that's just it. If you are only posting on your wall, that's who's going to see your post, your family and friends. And it is vital that you get into those other groups and you're posting there as well. And it won't come off as being spammy. But I can tell you, and this has happened to me, I've been doing this for a little over a year now. I am now having family and friends reach out to me and say, "Hey, are you doing that credit repair thing?" Because they have seen my posts throughout the whole year. But you also have to sprinkle it and make sure my audience knows I'm a human being too. I'm a person. I have family. I do fun things also. It's not just all numbers that I work with.
Same here. Same here.
So you want to mix it up as well, and you need somebody like Holly and her company to guide you in how to do it most effectively.
And avoid the pitfalls, no doubt about
Exactly.
it. But I'm being controversial on purpose because I
Right.
truly don't believe that I believe they've legislated against spam in the industry
Mhm.
and in the law when it never really existed to begin with. And all it's done is limit people as to how they're able to advertise when, there's always been an unsubscribe button. There's always been a way to block from a company you never want to hear again. That was
Mhm.
always there. We didn't need these extra laws in order to prohibit people from advertising legitimate things properly. And unfortunately, in this day and age where we're all bombarded by ads, South Park, by the way, for those who don't watch it, did a great, great 2-part episode on how the ads are taking over the planet. And they are. Advertising is everywhere. In fact, right now, we have one of the only YouTube channels that I watch religiously, and I watch a lot of them, that has no advertising. We don't get interrupted by 2 ads for 15 seconds each in the middle. We are
Mhm.
not monetizing because we consider ourselves a free service. When we get bigger, we may be forced to because YouTube requires once you have a certain number that they be allowed to throw their ads on your channel.
Of course, of
They're
course.
gonna
Of course,
put them
because we have a
if they're
bigger
gonna put-
audience
right.
that they'll
If they're
reach
going to put them
without
there
that
anyway,
reach.
but if they're going to put them there anyway, well, then I'm going to monetize because if they're going to put ads on my channel, at least I want my cut.
Mhm. Yep,
um,
yep.
and that being, the case, I just honestly don't believe, and I'm very pro-consumer. I'm incredibly pro-consumer. I'm pro the women's movement. I am pro a lot of liberal ideals, but this whole spam thing is out of control. It really is. It's not real. You've been fed a bill of goods when they talk about quote unquote spam. I'll give you a quick example. You're looking for a job. Should you limit the number of people you tell that you're looking for a job? Of course not. You want to tell as many people as
Right.
possible so that you find your job. But in
Mhm.
the internet world, they would call that spam.
Mhm. Right.
All right, Holly, you have any more comment on that based on my
I
controversial speech?
I love your controversial speech. I'm going to be pondering it all day long now.
Well,
But no,
thank you.
I agree. And on social media too, there's always that unfollow option. So
Mhm.
you can post as much about yourself. And Kim hit it on the head. You really want to tell that brand awareness, brand story, the story behind your business, your why. So even if you're saying, here are my services, you're promoting that, you're educating your audience, posting those numbers and the statistics and that type of thing. Then also talk about yourself because people are going to connect with you and you're not going to seem so spammy. At the end of it, you can say for your, to look up our server, to contact me for this service, here's my number at the end, or something like that. But you can really be creative the way you post so people don't unfollow you and or unsubscribe to your email list as well. So I'm enlightened by our spam conversation. But I completely
I
agree with
find
Facebook
something to
groups
rant.
too.
I find something to rant about just about every episode. So forgive me, but this one drives me crazy because the whole point of advertising is to reach as many people as you can. And then the
Mhm.
government steps in and says, well, you're reaching too many people too quickly, so limit it, will you?
Right.
Why? You don't limit TV commercials. You don't limit radio commercials. I heard the same radio commercial 9 times and I only drive 11 minutes to get to work. Okay. In 11
Oh my
minutes, I heard the
gosh.
same radio commercial 9 times. That's not spam. But if I send my email to the same person more than 3 times in a day, that's
That's
spam.
spam. Yep.
Mm.
No, I'm sorry.
I
I deny it. Some people want to deny climate change. I deny spam.
I like that.
That's the comedian in me. I apologize again. All right. So we're going to start to say goodbye. But Holly, is there anything else you want people to know about Socialite Media before we go? And make sure you email me directly all of your information so that down below this video in that wonderful comments box and description, it'll have all of your contact info so that people can find you and get your help getting their social media campaigns launched and their
Yes.
influencer marketing campaigns launched, along with Kim's information and mine, which is there every week. And this week I'll do it. We need more questions. We only have 13,000 left to answer, and that's nothing. We need more questions, and you're going to send them to questions@cruisingintoabetterfinancialfuture.com. Questions at cruisin with a Z, CRUZIN, into a betterfinancialfuture.com. That will also be in the description box below the video. Holly, I hand the floor to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you guys again, Kim and Adam. This has been absolutely wonderful. If you're watching this video, you're interested about social media, shoot me a message and you'll have the contact info below, info@Socialite Media. I would love to just jump on a call with you and do some consulting, take a look at your presence right now, give you a few pointers, and then point you in the right direction of how to grow and increase exposure and increase reach. And while we do love local businesses, we are expanding. So if you are in different parts of the country, we do cater to a lot of different people and industries. So thank you again.
I've heard rumors
Yeah.
that you're wiggling into New York and Florida and Cali and
Yes. So we are in Las Vegas and Miami and Chicago right now. New York and Nashville are next on our radar. So
cool.
That is
very excited
wonderful.
about that. So
Very
thank you
cool.
guys so much.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
been a pleasure having you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Holly.
All right, everybody.
Yeah, so this was wonderful. Anytime.
Now, don't go anywhere. We have a couple of things we want to talk to you about. But before that, I'm going to tell everyone that we'll see you next week as we keep going, cruising into a better financial future.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
you all have a
you.
great week. Thank you for being a part of Cruising into a Better Financial Future. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. We'll see you next time. Bye.